Alright, so Elite 110 or NHX 110. So lately I've been having a problem with the scooter. It was acting like it was hitting the red limiter, and this was happening way before top speed. It was happening as early as 42 miles an hour. So at first I thought it was my drive, I thought it was my rollers, and I checked that, and it seemed to be okay. And I changed out a few rollers just to see, just play with the different weights, just to make sure that I wasn't going too light. I had gone with 12 gram Dr. Pulley sliders, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't too light. So I put back to 13 grams, and I even put back the stock rollers, and it was still acting up. So my second guess was this right here, the spark plug cap. So the first time that that's happened to me with a spark plug cap acted up was actually right alongside the Everglades, Florida. This was after Cannonball. I wanted to go down to Key West, and alongside Everglades, cutting through there towards Key West. I was caught in a basically an afternoon thunderstorm, subtropical thunderstorm. Typical thunderstorm that lasts like maybe half an hour or something like that, but it dumps down like 3-4 inches in that short period of time, and there was literally like 3 or 4 inches of water on the ground. When I was riding through that, my bike started acting up, and I wasn't able to go past 20-25 miles an hour, and I had thought it was just water getting into the electrical or something like that. Water was just mucking up the system, but it wasn't actually, well, it was sort of the water, but it wasn't actually the water. What it was the spark plug cap. It actually wore out. So the spark plug cap, as it how it works is that as it goes over the spark plug, and the spark plug here has this stud here, and it has little this is what they call it, these little threads, basically. Actually they are threads. The threads and the spark plug cap, it goes over that, but also inside the spark plug cap, the hole, the mount that goes over this actually has a little wire that runs across the cap. So let's say I'm gonna use this little Allen wrench here. Let's say this was in here, and the little wire will actually push against the thread here, so that it would basically catch the thread, so that it stays secured. So the first time that I had any problems with the cap was in the Everglades, and what happened was that because this was what my bike had. By that time, my bike already had probably about 45,000 miles or so, somewhere around there, maybe a little less. And I didn't find out till that it was a spark plug cap till I got home. So basically it started acting up in the Everglades, and I went down to Key West, and I went all the way across the country back to California with the messed up spark plug cap. So what happened was that when you look in that side of the spark plug cap, normally that where the plug is right here, it's round, but by the time I got home, it was actually ovalized. It was ovalized, but also the pin or the wire that caught here, it was so worn out from the vibration. It was basically curved. It wasn't straight anymore, so it couldn't really hang on to this, and it was kind of weak. It wasn't holding on very strong either. So it would just basically, the cap would just slide on and off real easy. There was nothing holding it there, or nothing really holding it there. See, with this right here, I feel resistance from this rubber, but if I put this on like this, there's nothing holding it. See that? It just falls right off. So basically that's what happened initially, and I didn't find that out or figure it out until I got home. I had thought it was something else. I thought I had some other electrical problem and not the cap itself. Then I finally looked at it. But also the other thing that also messed up was that these threads here, because the pin was there and it's vibrating and such, and since that overlining was loose, it was kind of wiggling around. It actually the wire rubbed against the threads here until the thread basically was kind of grounded flat. It was like smooth, and well, not smooth, but it was flat. So the wire didn't really catch it anymore. So basically, by the time I got home, I had to replace the cap and the spark plug, even though the spark plug itself was actually still good. This is a iridium plug. It lasts a lot longer than the regular plugs, but this stud here, these threads, they actually wore out before the working end wore out here. So anyways, so just recently, in the last few hundred miles, I started getting this symptom of hitting the rev limiter way too soon. I was like, what the heck's going on? And just recently, I had just started using Dr. Pulley sliders as well, and 12-gram sliders. Stock rollers is 13 gram. So I thought it had something to do with those, and possibly maybe the belt's worn out. But then I looked at them and like, wait a minute, I just did a major tune-up, and I replaced a lot of stuff at 50,000 miles, and I only have 53,000 miles, so it can't be worn out that fast. So looking at the symptoms, it wasn't the drive. So my second suspicion was the spark plug cap. Even though this one, it acted a little bit different this time around compared to the other time. The other time it would like just kind of, the power would almost just go away, like basically like I ran out of gas, or like I ran out of spark. In this particular case, it didn't quite feel like, well, it did feel like I ran out of spark, but it felt more like hitting the rev limiter, because it had that pulsating, that power off pulsating while you hit the rev limiter. So it had the same feeling, but it just happened at 42, 45 miles an hour, way sooner than it's supposed to. So anyways, so I finally after checking out the drive, I took this off and I looked in it. I'm like, oh, where's the pin? There's supposed to be a pin in here. Let me see if you guys can see that. See how, if you look into it, it's just basically this. You don't see any pin at all. Normally there should be a pin that goes across where that hole is for the stud to go in. See where this hole is right here. This hole is right here. There should be a pin that goes across a little bit on the side right here, so that it catches onto the threads of the spark plug. So this one, basically that pin is completely gone. I don't even see it at all. So basically it just worn out, and it got loose enough that it just fell out of its slot. So there you go. Replace the cap. So these caps seem to, I mean, the original one lasted a long time. It lasted me 40,000+ miles. But this one right here, this one only lasted me about 10,000 miles. And prior to this one, I actually had a actually, the first one, did it last 40,000? I can't even remember now. Anyways, you could check back, on Adventure Rider, check out my thread and see if I mentioned that. I think I did, but I can't recall. But anyways, this one lasted me about maybe 10,000 miles or so. I had an NGK one. This is an OEM Honda one, and this one is anyways, it's OEM Honda. And I also had an NGK one. And the NGK one actually wore out faster than the stock Honda one did, which I was kind of surprised. But anyways, there you have it. So if your bike is acting up where it's acting like it's hitting the rev limiter, or feels like it's losing spark, or losing power, losing gas, but your drive is okay. One of the first things you check is when you have inconsistent running is check the drive. Check the spark plug here. Check that for that pin. Check and see if this thing it's holding. This one obviously it's not. See that? Normally if the pin was there, it would hold, and this thing would just it would just fall out like that. So the only thing that was holding this plug in was the rubber boot. This boot to keep it waterproof. And looking in here, it's not very waterproof, and you can see how dirty it is. Same thing with this end over here. I can see how dirty it is, and you can actually see some corrosion. So basically, water got in there. I see some rust, so definitely water got in there, and it does. Water gets in everywhere. You can't really completely waterproof everything. Normally when it just sits here static like this, it's probably watertight, but as it's running and it vibrates, when that vibrates, you got two surfaces vibrating, it's moving around it, and potentially it lets water go through. But anyways, right now it's being held by the boot, and not the cap itself. That's a pretty good hold. I think that's one of the reasons why it didn't act up as much. I think my other one, the original one, the boot was more worn out. It was a looser fit. It didn't fit tight like this, and I think that's why when I was in the Everglades during that thunderstorm, that rainstorm, water was able to pass through this, and it really acted up as I was driving through 3-4 inches of standing water. All right, that's it. So again, when you have that problem with what seems like it's hitting the rev limiter way sooner than it should be, first thing to check is the spark plug cap, and especially if you have a pretty good amount of miles on your bike. All right, thanks for watching.